Year 1502. There's a bridge Leonardo da Vinci drew for Istanbul. A letter is sent to the Ottoman court. If it had been accepted, bridge engineering might have leapt forward 500 years earlier. And the craziest part? That idea eventually becomes real, just not in Istanbul. Some people know Da Vinci only for the Mona Lisa. But he was like a one-man R&D department of the Renaissance. A painter, yes, but also a mechanic, an urban thinker, an engineer who designed war machines and city concepts. And here's the interesting part. Da Vinci didn't just dream. He searched for the power that could build his dreams. He wrote to the most powerful patrons of his era saying, "I can do this," chasing commissions like a relentless project hunter. In the early 1500s, he sets his sights beyond the Italian courts and looks toward a much greater force, the Ottoman Empire. Because Istanbul was a true megacity of its time, ports, shipyards, trade. And right through the heart of the city ran the Golden Horn, Galata on one side, the historic peninsula on the other. A bridge here wasn't just transportation. It meant prestige, speed, security, commerce, purely a matter of state. It's said that during the reign of Bayezid II, there was a search for a bridge that could connect Galata and Istanbul. Da Vinci hears about this need and sees an opportunity. In 1502, he sends Sultan Bayezid a letter and a small sketch. What he proposes is almost madness for the era: a gigantic single-span stone arch bridge. Bridges back then were usually supported by many piers. Da Vinci, as if trying to unite the city in one bold stroke, draws one massive arc stretching over the water. What's impressive isn't just that it looks beautiful. The design contains real engineering intelligence: how the load would be carried, how balance would be achieved, how the form would lock itself into stability. In other words, aesthetics and structural logic move together. It turns the story from an artist's whim into a serious engineering proposal. And there's an extra detail that makes it even more legendary. It's also said that Michelangelo was invited for this project, but refused. Michelangelo, the man who breathed life into stone, a master at the peak of the Renaissance, a name that alone was a show of power. Just imagine. Istanbul's agenda briefly touching both Da Vinci and Michelangelo on the same project. It sounds like a film scene. So, if such an offer existed, why wasn't it built? The simplest answer: it was too ambitious. A stone arch, a single span, a huge opening. With the technology, labor system, and risk perception of that day, this wasn't something you build hoping it might work. And it wasn't just a bridge. If it collapsed, it wouldn't only be stones falling. Prestige would fall, order would shake, trust would be damaged. So the sketch is shelved. The bridge enters history as something that never happened. Da Vinci's letter is still exhibited today at Topkapi Palace. Then centuries pass. And the truly surprising part begins here. In 2019, researchers at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology didn't treat this as a romantic legend. They tested it. They ran digital analyses, built a scaled model, and even demonstrated how the structure could lock into place by mimicking stone block logic without mortar. The result is shocking. The design can stand. So the loser wasn't Da Vinci's dream. It was the courage of his era. Then the story leaves Istanbul and goes to Norway. An artist named Vebjørn Sand sees Da Vinci's Golden Horn sketch and says, "This must be built." Not at Da Vinci's enormous scale, perhaps, but as a smaller interpretation. Yet with the same idea, the character of the arch, the distribution of load, a single form carrying itself. And eventually, a pedestrian bridge inspired by Da Vinci is realized in Norway. A concept drawn for Istanbul becomes something you can walk across 500 years later in another country. Now let's return to Istanbul. Look at the Golden Horn. The poetic bitter ending is this: Da Vinci's bridge for Istanbul is proven centuries later to be possible, but not in Istanbul. The bridge that could have crossed the Golden Horn is written into history as never built. And here, let's add one more color to the story. In those same years, another name is growing up in Ottoman lands, Mimar Sinan. At that time, he is likely just a child. Imagine a 12-year-old Sinan growing up around stone walls and arches. While Da Vinci's letter is being opened in the palace, Sinan might be watching a stonemaster somewhere in Anatolia, learning the language of arches, the temperament of weight, the psychology of structures. Now let's play a pure what-if game. What if, that day, Mimar Sinan had been an adult, Sinan as we know him, and Da Vinci's sketch was on the table too? What would happen? Maybe Sinan would look at it and say, "This isn't a drawing, it's a lock." Maybe he would order a small model built immediately and convince the court not with theory, but with proof. Look, it stands. And maybe right then the direction of history would change. Da Vinci's idea would leave the realm of art and become a construction site. But history wasn't written that way. Istanbul eventually built its bridges, many times. The first modern Galata Bridge was built in 1845 as a wooden bridge, known as Sisr-i Sedid, the New Bridge. The current Galata Bridge we use today began construction in 1992 and was completed in December 1994. Istanbul finally connected the Golden Horn with a bridge. Yet Da Vinci's world-changing one-stroke idea was not born here. And now we're left with one question. If that bridge had been built in 1502, would Istanbul's city planning, trade, even its architecture be completely different today? Maybe what we call the Age of Bridges would begin on a different page of history. Who knows? If you enjoy these real but unbelievable stories, that's exactly what we chase on Pastory. A single forgotten letter, a single sketch, sometimes a single word, it didn't happen. And how an entire world could have turned out differently. What would you say if you were there? Build it, or too risky? Write your answer in the comments. I truly want to know the most reasonable choice. And if you want more stories like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Pastory.